Riddled with Deceit is the second Martha's Vineyard Mysteries film, and I thought this was pretty decent, very slow, but after about the halfway mark, things really picked up and it became really fascinating. This was released in 2020. It's directed by Mikita, and it stars, of course, Jesse Metcalfe as Jeff and Sarah Lind as Z. And I won't go into too much detail about those characters, as I did talk a little bit at length about my opinions when I discussed the first film, but I can just confirm that I'm still really liking them as protagonists. I like them both when they're on their own and when they're together, and as I've said in my previous discussion, I love the fact that for once there is a genuine reason for both leads to be involved in the case, because Jeff is a retired detective and Z is a medical examiner, so I think they're both really brilliant characters, and this one is no exception. The story itself isn't the most gripping, and as I said, it was very slow. It took about half of the film to get anywhere, but once it did, I was really curious to find out what was going on. This revolves around the theft of an emerald brooch, a brooch that's obviously worth a lot of money, and we do also have a dead body. I won't say who the dead body is or what the potential connection is, but I will say that all aspects of the narrative tie together really nicely. There wasn't anything in this that felt like it didn't need to be there. Well, apart from a considerable amount of padding to begin with, as I said, it was just tremendously slow, to the point where for about half the film, I couldn't say I was enjoying it. This was something I noticed with the previous film as well, where I said there was a lot of time setting up, but I kind of thought that that was okay because that was the first film in what I assume was going to be a series of films, so they were giving us a bit of time to get to know the characters. But obviously by this point, we already know the characters. We don't need to take so long to set the scene. So the pacing isn't amazing, but after about the halfway mark, things pick up really quickly and it gets a lot more exciting. I don't think it's predictable. I didn't work out who was responsible. I had a suspicion, and I wasn't right, and I'm totally okay with not being right, and I think everything made a lot of sense once things were revealed to us, and it was absolutely fine. So I can't say I loved the film, but the narrative did eventually become fascinating. To be honest, part of that is personal preference. When it comes to mysteries, I'm not that bothered about thefts. This isn't unique to this series. I mentioned this in a couple of others. I think more recently there was Picture Perfect Mysteries film, if I'm not misremembering, where it was basically just a theft. And I don't care, I don't find that interesting. I need dead bodies, I need the crime to be really gripping and gritty, and that just wasn't the case here for a lot of it. So I think partially it's personal preference, but also partially it's very slow, and not a lot happens for a long period of time. But eventually it gets going, so it is worth it. If you've tried watching it and you got a bit bored, I'd say go back and give it another go, because the story does become a pretty decent, well-written narrative. And then, of course, you throw in the likeable characters, the decent performances. All of that is pretty interesting. So I liked it. I didn't love it, but I liked it enough that I'm keen to check out the next one. There are, I think, 4 films in the Martha's Vineyard series. The first one was really good. This one is pretty good. So I'm hoping the third one is going to be at least good. We'll see how it goes, but I can say now with confidence that I did like Riddled with Deceit. It's not perfect, but ultimately I was left feeling like I enjoyed it.